Hey Dungebags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes here, and welcome to an album that I really wasn't too excited to listen to in the first place and was even more disappointed in the end. Papi Gordo by Carnage. And with this one, what I can basically say to begin with is that I can't understand if he's trying to be a hip-hop rap producer in this, or if he's trying to be an EDM producer, and I think that's where he kind of stands. He's trying to come up with a style on this debut album where it's going to appeal to your standard EDM fans with tracks like Toca, with Timmy Trumpet and Kashmir, and also put some hard style on this record as well. Well, I think the first half generally is some pretty standard hip-hop. The kind of styles used on at least the first half of this record are the same kind of things where it made me dislike Dr. Dre's recent record, where it doesn't really bring any really heavy lyrical themes, and is some of the most generic and lackluster production I've heard this year. I'm just going to mention Dre's album really quick. I was going to try to enjoy that one as much as I could, and I was going to review it, but the fact that a lot of the tracks weren't even produced by him, some of the tracks he barely even touched, just being a co-mixer on the album, because I bought the physical copy and looked through this stuff, I was like, okay, he didn't produce this, he didn't write it, he helped mix, that's something, and for some reason it's considered a full Dr. Dre track, which doesn't really make sense. The producer should really get the credit, or the writer, if anyone. And I think that's where this album is kind of lame. He makes a pretty lackluster song with Milo and Otis called RGV, and some of the lead singles on this were pretty lackluster as well. At least after track 6, I think he's trying way too hard to make a festival album, and I know that's what made him big with remixes of tracks like Spaceman. I think Carnage kind of let the fame get to his head and like, oh, let's make more festival music, and kind of uses these big room build-ups and pretty generic trap and big room drops. I did like Toca for the most part, probably thanks to Timmy Trumpet and Kashmir being two of the best at making bounce music around. Always interesting to hear, but I can't help but feel that Carnage doesn't really do a lot of work and put a lot of time and effort into making his music. And yeah, he's friggin' famous for it, but who cares when the quality of the music is just so lackluster. Even the hardstyle track with Atmospheres, who I was actually pretty into because of his affiliation with Monster Cat, and I think his remixes were always pretty nice. I apologize if Atmospheres is a duo and I got that wrong. I just kind of assumed it was a singular producer. November Skies was kind of cool in a way because it starts off with kind of a drum and bass sound, which I think I would have really enjoyed in full, but then it kind of converts back to your classic trap sound that you'd expect to hear from Carnage. And I think with a debut album you should be pulling off, taking sounds that your fans are going to like, but not make something that's just a complete mess. And like I said, with the start of the album you're hearing this standard hip-hop, and you can't really tell while he's trying to go a route of Dr. Dre's last record, or if he's trying to make an EDM record. And either way, I don't think either of the sounds really work. For the most part, the production on this is pretty bland, and I have a really hard time getting through this, even harder of a time than I had with Alice in Wonderland's album earlier this year, which actually had a couple good listens on it. With this one, I feel like it was just pretty much a flop, and especially lyrically, on tracks like Gordo and Back That, which I think Carnage raps himself on, it's just pretty cringy lyrically, and I really don't think he was doing anything really innovative with this album. So without further ado, I'm going to give this one a 1.5, which is among artists like Nervo this year, where they really only impressed me with a couple tracks. Maybe this one might even be a little generous, considering my favorite tracks were kind of standard for sounds in EDM, which I typically haven't enjoyed this year. I think he can thank his success, or minor success on this, to Timmy Trumpet and Kashmir for being two of the best producers, in my opinion, in the big room and bounce scene. Yeah, what do you guys think about the record? Like, you already know I really wasn't into that, and you're going to hear a lot more negative response of albums that I thought were going to be good in upcoming days and weeks. Anyway, I hope you guys got some enjoyment out of this review, and I hope you get a little more enjoyment than I did out of the record if you're going to listen to it. probably don't get it. Don't support this guy. As evidence from his tutorials with Razor, he doesn't even really know how to produce, and I think honestly he's just kind of letting his fame to get to his head, and I think it was probably too early to come out with a debut album when he hasn't even really found his own sound yet. Although he was one of the pioneers in festival trap, I think just a couple remixes isn't going to land you to be one of the best producers in the industry. What do you guys think of the record? Let me know below in the comments, and maybe I'll see you guys later. Hopefully after this review. Anyway, see you guys later. Peace.